Hello and welcome back to my channel. This video is the fifth and final one in a series of informational videos around different aspects of talent pathways. Today's video is all about talent transfer and athlete transition, and in this video we will be looking at what those terms mean, examples of each of the two subtopics, the benefits and drawbacks of talent transfer, and why some athletes decide to transition in their careers. With this being the last video in the series, this is more focused towards the latest scale of an athlete's childhood, for example, in the later stages at 15-16 years of age, or in an athlete's career, such as when they retire, meaning that the series of videos so far have kind of followed a progressive thread from the early stages of talent to the latter stages. We'll start with the earliest of these two terms to happen in an athlete's lifetime normally, and that is talent transfer. Talent transfer is the more or less structured transfer and fast tracking of talented individuals from one sport to another sport where there are opportunities to succeed, shown in MacNamara and Collins in 2015, with the concept being more and more of a used initiative, especially in teenagers who may not be good enough to succeed in one sport, but by transferring them to another sport with similar movements and of a similar discipline, they may thrive and go on to achieve great things. Some famous examples of talent transfer are shown in athletes such as Christian Wade going from a star winger for Wasps and England in rugby union to a switch to the NFL to play as a running back in the American Football League for the Buffalo Bills. And the World Class Talent Transfer Initiative, which is launched by UK Sport, in where athletes exiting an Olympic or Paralympic world class programme and are interested in exploring their potential in another sport. There are many examples of talent transfer to name, and they can either result in great success or not have the success hoped for. The most notable sport where talent transfer takes place, in my opinion, would be the changing codes between rugby union and rugby league. One benefit of talent transfer is that with an athlete transferring their skills across sport, it means that they can learn two different sports and access wider knowledge around each of the sports, enabling their skills to be more refined and improving them further. Another benefit of talent transfer is that by having closely linked skills, any skills learned in one sport may be easily transferred and help to improve the skills in the next sport, already giving them a base to build on and potentially giving them an advantage over people who have been in the sport for a longer period of time. Another benefit is that there may be more post-puberty athletes who do not achieve expertise or who leave their sport due to age, injury or deselection, but still possess physiological capabilities and skills that can be used in other sporting disciplines, shown in Gulbin 2013. An example of this is the older gymnastics get, the less likely they are to get a place being a professional, whereas their core skills and their strength could be used across different sports such as netball, rugby and boxing. A drawback of talent transfer is that if an athlete goes from one sport to another, there may be a question as to whether or not the coaching and the training is at the same level as if they go from a sport which is a high level of funding such as football and has a high level of coaching can be afforded to a lesser funded sport such as handball or netball, and thus may give a disadvantage to the athlete themselves. Another drawback is that when an athlete transfers from one sport to another, there may be a question as to what the sport the athlete was previously in gets in return as a trade-off for the player moving sport. As if the athlete is a massive professional name in that sport and they move to a different sport, it may hurt the advertisement and the development of other athletes, and seeing that there could potentially be a short lifespan within the sport for those who want to pursue it. Moving from talent transfer now, we come to athlete transition. Now, athlete transition is normally seen throughout the career of an athlete, with transition taking place from areas such as transition to high intensity training, the transition from amateur sport to professional sport, and transition to retirement. Some famous examples of athlete transition are how sports people transition from successful players to successful coaches, such as Pep Guardiola and Zinedine Zidane. Some less successful sports people transitioned into successful coaches, such as Jurgen Klopp and Clive Woodward. And even some failed transitions from school sport to professional sport, such as Anthony Bennett, who was a great basketball prospect in college and was drafted number 1 in the NBA, yet he is not even in the NBA only 8 years after he was drafted. For the next part, we will be looking at athlete transition from a point of view at the end of one's career in sport. We will be focused on the reasons as to why some athletes transition or retire to pastures new at the end of their playing career. Some athletes retired due to injury, such as James Taylor, who was a famous cricket batsman for England, and found out that he had a severe heart condition and it would have been dangerous to continue. By doing this, elite athletes who perform at such a high level with even the smallest reductions in their physical capabilities may mean that they cannot perform at such a high competitive level, shown in Ogilvie and Taylor in 1993. Another reason that some athletes may transition into retirement is because they may not have the motivational drive for it anymore. An example of this is Shane Supple, who stepped away from football whilst playing for Ipswich Town at the age of just 22. When asked for his reason, he said that he had fallen out of love with the game, and he also stated, "As you grow up, you realise there are other things in life, and to be honest, the game is not what I thought it was." Some people transition because it may not be their choice, such as at a younger age, some footballers who were released from their clubs due to a lack of not being good enough, such as Rhys Staple, who was a fantastic young player for Nottingham Forest Academy, yet when he was released, he died shortly after the release when he became involved with drugs in 2009. Some people scrutinise Notts Forest for not providing enough support after the release, and it has been a problem with the sport for a number of years now. But they are looking to provide more of a structured care programme after this sort of transition away from the playing and professional spotlight. Overall, talent transfer and athlete transition are a very important factor regarding talent pathways, and there are different ways that it can affect it throughout the video. We've seen over the course of the last 5 videos how different themes throughout talent pathways ultimately help strengthen different sports and blood talent through the sports, developing them as a sport, and further advancing a lot of athletes, coaches, and other related people. That concludes the 5th and final video. Thank you for listening to this series of videos.